Okay, this is CAD Methods, Lab 2.1, Part 2, Project 7-2, Socket Head Cap Screw, and we're going to draw it in English units. So let's just start off with an AutoCAD DWT. So I need an AutoCAD template, so I'm going to select it, and here I go. I'm going to use these letters. These letters are referenced in this table down here, and rather than show me all the dimensions, it'll show me A, B, C, D, and L, and then I reference that dimension down here. So what the chart shows me is that I got multiple different fasteners, so I'm going to do number 4 and use this information straight across here. I'm going to start off with A. Distance A from the top to the bottom here is the diameter for this circle here. So A is 0.183. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to draw a circle, and D for diameter, and I'm going to tell it, I got to pick a center point, and D for diameter, and it says that A is 0.183, and that's pretty small. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to hit F7 to turn off my grid because it's not very useful to me right now. And you can see how my circle is looks like a bunch of straight lines. Well, that's because there's a command called ViewRes, and this is for slower computers. It's a little bit of an old command, but in the ViewRes it's set to 1000. I'm just going to turn it all the way up to 20,000, and you can watch my circle turn more into a circle. It's just a display property. It's always a circle, but for slower computers you can set the ViewRes down and it will allow the computer to not work so hard to generate that smooth circle. So now I've got my A dimension here, and I'm going to do the B dimension, and I've got this polygon in the middle, this 6-sided hex I want to put in there. So that's going to be for like an Allen tool or something. This is a pretty small fastener, and I'm going to use B, the dimension B, so right here, 0.9375 for my hex. Now, just to show you, I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to shift right click and put it on the center, and I'm going to draw D for diameter, and B is 0.09375. That's obviously not a polygon. That's just a circle. So I'm going to type polygon, and the default is 4. You can draw a polygon 3 sides or more, so I need 6. And it wants to know where the center is, so shift right click and say center, put that in there, and then I get this choice, inscribed or circumscribed. So I'm going to do inscribed first, and you can see I'm dragging a 6-sided shape. So I'm going to shift right click and tell it I want to put the second point on my quadrant there, because I've already defined the size of it with that circle. So now I have a 6-sided hexed inscribed polygon, and you can see that the points are touching the inside of the circle. So let me do that again. Polygon, 6 sides, specify the center, so shift right click and say center, and then I want to circumscribed, and you can see I'm dragging my polygon, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Shift right click and say quadrant and put it there. Now if I zoom in a little bit, you can see here I have my inscribed polygon where the points touch the inside of the circle, and my circumscribed polygon where the flats touch the outside of the circle. So you got to decide which one you need and delete the rest. So there we go. Now that's done for now. So what I want to do, I'm going to draw an arbitrary line down. Make sure my ortho's turned on, F8. I'm going to draw a line from the quadrant here. I'm going to draw a line from the quadrant here. And that's it. Trim, enter, enter. I can get rid of some of this stuff. I'm going to use this for the basis of the head of my screw. And it says D and A. So I'm going to do this a little backwards. I'm going to start with C, and I'm going to say 0.103. So I'm going to do this backwards. I'm going to say offset 103. going to go from here to here. And then I'm going to say D, and it gives me a nominal size for D at 0.112. So offset 0.112. Now I'm going to go from the back to the front. And then I can TR, enter, and get rid of this stuff. Okay, so you can see that there's a 30-degree angle here. So I'm gonna draw this with a relative coordinate. So that relative coordinate is going to be from this intersection down this way and from this intersection up this way. So I'm going to draw a line from that intersection there. Turn my ortho off so you can see what's going on. I'm going to say shift at 0.2 less than, so I'll use that caret, and then I want it to go down and to the left, so I'm going to say 240 degrees. And you see I get that long line. That's a 30-degree angle right there. So I'm going to draw a line from here up. I'm going to say shift at 0.2 caret, or the less than symbol, and I'm going to tell that I want it to be 120 degrees. So there I have it. Those are 30 degrees. So trim, enter, get rid of this stuff, get rid of this stuff, get rid of this, and that's it right there. Okay, so that gives me the head of my screw, and I'm going to come back and do this hidden information last. So now I'm going to zoom out a little bit, because if you take a look, distance L right there, distance L says it's 1 inch. So that's the biggest number that we have on our drawing so far. So I'm going to offset 1 from here to there. I'm going to now figure out what I'm going to be doing with this. So go back here, D, and D says that's going to be the distance of the threaded area. So D is going to be 0.112. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a circle over here, circle, based on shift right click this center with a diameter of 0.112. And you can see there it is. It's a little bigger than my hexagon. So I'm going to draw a line. Now make sure you get this correct. You want to draw it from the quadrant, not part of that hexagon. And I want to turn, and whoops. Let me pan this over so you can see. I want to draw a line from my quadrant, top quadrant here. Turn my ortho on. I'm just going to drag it over. And I'll do that again. Line from my bottom quadrant, and drag that over. Now that's it. Now I really don't have a use for this circle anymore, and I really don't have a use. So I'm going to trim, pick a line, hit enter, and I don't have a use for those lines anymore. Okay. Now you can see that my lines are too short. So rather than trim, I'm just going to do extend. You can do it from up here, or I'm just going to type it. Extend. Enter. I'm going to do enter again, just like I do the trim. Enter, and pick that, and trim, enter. Get rid of these parts. Okay. So now we need to draw these threads. Now there's a couple of different ways to do it. This is only one type. This is a schematic view of threads. We don't have to draw each individual little triangle and show the threads and how they cross the surface on an angle. We don't have to do that. We can draw these schematic views, but we're not given any dimensions, and it is just a schematic view. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to zoom in and pan over so that we can take a look at this. So we have to figure out how to do this end. Now this end, we have a 45-degree chamfer here and here, and then we have to draw these threads. So let's see, let's do an offset of, say, 0.02. Take a look at that. What's that look like? That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to offset these multiple times. If you find that this is kind of tedious, what you can do is you can get half of them or several of them and say copy. Select all of them, and then you can copy from like intersection to intersection, and you can double the amount that you have. But that looks pretty good. I don't need to go all the way down the entire fastener to show threads. It's just a schematic. So I'm going to do an offset again. 0.2 works pretty good. I'm going to put that in. And now I'm going to trim every other one of these so that it looks similar to what the book is showing. And that's it. And it looks like I have a odd number of them here, so I'm just going to delete that last one. And then I can delete these. And you can see that this here looks similar to this here. So that works pretty good. Now we have this little bit on the end, this little chamfered bit on the end. So I need to decide what, how I'm going to do that. It looks like I'm trying to draw a representation of this, and it looks like this part here on the end is smaller than that. So I'm going to end up moving these in the end just so it looks a little more correct. I'm going to draw a line from this intersection, and I'll turn my ortho off so you can see it. I'm going to say shift at 0.2 caret negative 45, and that gives me that piece going down. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this stuff from here. So I move, select it all, pick a base point, drag it to the right with my ortho on. Let's say 0.1. Whoop, that's too far, isn't it? Oh, because I see. I wanted to move it half this distance, and that was 0.02. So I'm going to move this from here to here. I'm going to turn my ortho on. 0.01. That's good. Now I'm going to trim this up. I'm going to mirror this object from here, from the midpoint to down there. Trim. Oh, I didn't finish the mirror command. So mirror this from the midpoint. Now you don't want to trim this up before you do the mirror because that'll change the midpoint. So I'm going to drag that over. Delete the object? No. And now I have it. If you were to trim this line so it was shorter, it would move this midpoint from here to here, and then your mirror wouldn't mirror to the correct location. So you want to do all the trim work last. And that looks pretty good. Now if you decide, I just feel like it's not displayed, there's not enough schematic threads displayed, then you could easily just go back down here once you're finished, copy the ones that you want, and go from here to there, and increase the number of threads that you have. That'd be fine. So I'm almost done. I just need to add the hidden information here on where this hex shape goes into the head of the screw. So this is pretty easy. They give me a dimension of 0.75D. Okay, so I'm going to say that that's 0.075 because the whole thing here is only measured at 0.112. 0.75 is a lot bigger than 0.112. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to offset 0.075 from here to there. Okay, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to now draw a line from this intersection, and I'm just going to draw several lines from the intersections on that polygon to across the offset. So trim, get rid of those, and then I'm going to trim, and I want to select that as my cutting edge. So that looks pretty good. Now we're not provided with the actual depth. This would be like the tip of the drill bit, so I'm just going to kind of draw one in, and that ought to look pretty good. Okay, and then if you look close, that line goes all the way across, so that's good. So now everything on the screen is identified. When I click it, it shows me the properties, and this is clearly a hidden line right here because it's inside the head of the screw. So if I look up here and I look at my line type, I don't have any choices. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my layers. Alright, now if you select the line type and pick this, I'm just going to pick the 0 layer because it's the only layer we have, and hit the continuous button. It's going to bring this up and it's going to say continuous, and there's no other line types loaded. I'm going to load. I'm going to just pick anywhere and type HI, and then it can bring me down to hidden. I'm going to say hidden. OK, and now I don't need to do anything with this. I just need to say OK. And it didn't change my line type on my layer 0. It just loaded a new line type into this drawing. So I can close this. So now if I were to select this and go up to line type, I get a choice continuous and hidden. And I want to make it hidden. And I hit escape. And it doesn't look like anything happened. That's because the LT scale. So the LT scale is set to 1. I'm going to change it to 0.25. And you can see right there, the longest line got a dash in it, but it's still not quite. So let's say 0.0625. That looks pretty good. So here we go. Now, the assignment says draw 2 of these. So this is the first one. And then you'll have to draw, I did number 4. You can draw number 4. You can draw any 2 of these, and you can just put them one here and then one underneath it. It doesn't matter. When you're done, I'm going to save it. Going to call it lab 2.1 part 2 project 7-2, and you can give it your initials and save it, and then you're all done once you finish drawing 2 of those.